Welcome back to the Off the Ball podcast. I'm your host, Clay Tillman, and on today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the Cowboys versus 49ers games from last night. So the 49ers win 30-24 in a second half beatdown. The Cowboys it was a close game in the first half, but that margin really spread out in the second half. And that's when Kittle and Brock Purdy really turned up, and that's when their defense really turned up as well. Let's begin with the Cowboys and just go over their box score. Cowboys, Dak Prescott was 25 for 38, 243 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And Ezekiel Elliott, 1 touchdown. And then CeeDee Lamb had a fantastic game. Was the star of their offense last night on 13 receptions, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, one thing that sticks out when I'm talking about this box score is the run game of the Cowboys. It's honestly non-existent. They have Dowdy. They have Ezekiel Elliott. They picked up Dalvin Cook. It's just there's not much there. Zeke, way out of his prime. He is just not himself anymore. He's gained a lot of weight. He's not as athletic. Dalvin Cook's getting old. He had his tenure in Minnesota, but just has not performed well ever since. Went to the Jets, or was at the Jets last year, and he just hasn't seemed like himself since the Minnesota days. And overall, the run game is slacking. It's like I said, non-existent, and they really rely on that pass game. And their only star wide receiver other than Brandon Cooks, who has been injured, is CeeDee Lamb. And hypothetically, if someone like CeeDee Lamb gets injured, it's like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin out. Without them, it's Baker Mayfield, and that's it. It's nobody else. You have Sterling Shepard. You may have Cade Otton every now and then, but you don't have your wide receiver who's a brilliant star. And that's who the Cowboys are with CeeDee Lamb. Now, they are now 3-4 under 500, and they do have a star who is healthy in CeeDee Lamb, but they aren't getting anything done. I know Micah Parsons is out. I know DeMarcus Lawrence is out. But hypothetically, CeeDee Lamb is the only guy on their team that consistently comes out each and every week and performs to his best ability because he's the only one that can do it for them. Dak Prescott, inconsistent. They paid him a bankload of money, and that's who they rely on. And to be 100% honest, he isn't their guy, ultimately. He isn't a playoff performer. He may be a regular season performer, but now since their division is more competitive than ever, I mean, you see Commanders just coming off a wild ending win against the Bears yesterday after Jane Daniels threw an incredible Hail Mary. But then the Eagles bouncing back after probably their best one of the season. And the Cowboys are just looking bad. Very, very bad. They're usually a regular season team. They usually are. They're usually a 13, 14. I mean, at the floor, they're a 10-win team. But this season, now being 3-4, they play the Falcons on Sunday. Man, at this point, it's just like, I think the Falcons could beat them. It's because, one, Micah Parsons is out, DeMarcus Lawrence, so their defense is beat up. Their offense, they're relying on CeeDee Lamb to perform fantastic every game, and he performed great in this game. 13 receptions, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. There was one drive where he was every single target. He made every single reception. So it's like, yes, CeeDee Lamb's great. He's great for that franchise. But yeah, one thing they're going to want to do this offseason is really build up that run game. And one person I really think they should target is someone like Ashton Janty. He's had a fantastic college career, and this season he's literally in conversations for Heisman Trophy winner. So he would be a great pickup for them. I mean, they need someone. Zeke isn't the answer. Dalvin Cook isn't the answer. You need someone young, athletic. No one big, no one old. Quick, athletic, smart, high IQ, yes. Ashton Janty is an excellent pickup, in my opinion, and I feel like a lot of people would agree with me. But Dak, being how inconsistent he is, how underperforming he could be in the playoffs, and this year it seems like in the regular season as well. And then CeeDee Lamb frustrated with the whole coaching staff, and he's had some turmoil with Dak this season. It's just been messy. It's been a little toxic. It just doesn't seem like the Cowboys we usually see, especially last season when Dak was second in MVP voting. So it's been strange. It's been a strange couple of weeks. We're heading into week 9, and there's a lot of struggles going on in Dallas. It could be coaching staff. I think Mike McCarthy, they need to move on from him. I don't think he's an excellent coach whatsoever. I mean, he did his time in Green Bay, got him a Super Bowl, but who is really running that team? Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers runs every team. We see him in New York this season. Man brought in 11 guys from the Green Bay Packers, turned the Jets into a Packers 2.0, but look, they're sailing. They're selling big time. They're 2-6 now. Fired Robert Saleh. Like, what the heck is even going on over there? And a lot of that has to do with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he is a GM. He is a owner of any franchise he goes to. And Mike McCarthy, yeah, he was the head coach in Green Bay, but like I said, who was running things over there? Probably Aaron Rodgers. He likes to get his way. And I don't think Mike McCarthy is a great coach. So I think they need to move on from Mike McCarthy, potentially get a new head coach. I mean, heck, go for Belichick. One of the greatest coaches of all time. I'm sure he's wanting a job. That or Mike Vrabel. I mean, he led the Titans to an AFC championship. I think he's a great coach in general. And he really hasn't. He's on the Browns doing something, but he's a head coach. Or potentially Robert Saleh. I mean, Robert Saleh is a good defensive coach, and the Cowboys are good defensively. Micah Parsons, a defensive player of the year caliber type of player. DeMarcus Lawrence, really good. Trevon Diggs, a great, in my opinion, a little bit overrated, but a good, solid cornerback. So they have pieces on that secondary. You just need a coach to really balance it out. Offensively, defensively, they really need to figure stuff out. Run game, it's a mess. But coaching staff, run game, this season may not go as well as some fans or as majority of the NFL thought. I mean, honestly, a lot of the NFL don't think the Cowboys are a great team, obviously. Playoff history, they're bad. They haven't been good since the 90s when it comes to playoff performance. But now you're in a whole new decade, a whole new league where the Commanders, where the Bucks, where the Lions are really, really good in the NFC. The Falcons. So now you're going to have to really put a head on and really put your focus on the offense and coaching staff. But other than that, Dallas coming off a bye, they're well rested, but you're going up against a 49ers team who just came off a Super Bowl. Just equaled themselves to 500. They're now 4-4, but yes, they're a playoff caliber. Sorry, not even playoff. They're a Super Bowl caliber team with the offense they have. I mean, with the absence of CMC, yes, they've struggled to stretch out that run game, but CMC should be coming back soon. Dre Greenlaw, they've been missing him a lot this season. He had a fantastic year last season, but they've really been missing those types of guys, but they should be back soon. But yeah, the Cowboys coming off a bye, well rested. We really didn't see much. Only CeeDee Lamb playing a all-star Pro Bowl type of game, like he always does. He's a fantastic top 5 wide receiver. But like I said, Micah Parsons' ankle injury was out. DeMarcus Lawrence foot injury out. Brandon Cooks, one of their wide receivers, out. Marshawn Kneeland, their defensive end, out. So they're missing some key players, offensively and defensively. But notably, defensively, Micah Parsons, defensive player of the year caliber. DeMarcus Lawrence, great player. Great player. So these are the people that they rely on, that they need to rely on, because they are the captains of their defense. They're the best defensive players on their team. So they will be back, hopefully, within the next month. But, man, that means you're heading into week 12, week 13. Too much time could be passed and too many losses, which could be a big problem because we're getting close. We're about halfway there until playoff time, until January. So Cowboys are really going to have to figure some stuff out. They played the Falcons again, like I said, on Sunday, and the Falcons just came off a huge win against the Buccaneers. They're now 2-0 against the Bucs. They are doing well against their division, really, really well. They're 4-0 in their division. But yeah, Mike Evans was out, Chris Godwin was out, so Falcons really took advantage of that. But yes, I feel like the Falcons could beat this ill defensive team who's been just completely injured. Bad coaching staff, in my opinion. I don't want to say it, but below average quarterback. I mean, it's tough to say that. Dak's a great quarterback, in my opinion, but inconsistent as heck. But yeah, I'm just gonna say it out flat. Below average quarterback. So yes, a lot of stuff has to be reconciled, has to be rebuilt in the Cowboys. And hey, this may be a bad season for them. They could get a good draft pick. They need to pick up some players, and they really need to focus on coaching staff and running back. But yeah, Cowboys do have a tough schedule heading into the next 4 weeks. They play Falcons, Eagles, Texans, and Commanders. Commanders are leading their division. They're on a run to make a solid performance in the playoffs. Jane Daniels is my pick for Rookie of the Year. I think he's set for that. But Texans, they're going to destroy their division. I know their division is terrible. I mean, you have the Titans, Colts, Jags. They're just none of those teams are they're way below mediocre, in my opinion. So Texas has completely blown them out. And then Eagles are on a bounce. It also could go back and forth because I feel like that's a huge rivalry, and those two teams really butt heads a lot. So it really could go either way. But for the Commanders, man, I think they're going to take this division this season. I think they're fantastic. Terry McLaurin, their run game, their defense, their offensive line is very, very good, solid, and they're a fun team to watch. I watched the Bears game on Sunday, and that Hail Mary was unbelievable. It was a slow offensive game, but man, they look fun to watch. And I can't wait for the playoffs. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be a heck of a ride. So strap yourself in. But yeah, those four teams, like I said, the Falcons, Eagles, Texans, Commanders have a combined record of 22-9. So yes, they are great teams. And what hurt them yesterday was 3 kickoff penalties. So this overall struggles from Dallas. And that's my takeaway. If there's one word I could say that describes the Cowboys this season is just struggle. Struggle. Yeah. And the 49ers dominated this complete dominance. And at this point, the 49ers own the Cowboys. The Cowboys have lost 4 straight to Dallas, and 2 of those are in the playoffs. I know that's playoff game. That's a whole different environment. It's a whole different. You're 0-0 when you first start. Whole different mentality. But yeah, lost twice in the playoffs, 2 times in the regular season, and they've been outscored 69-30 in those times. And then last night in the third quarter, they were outgained 167 to 160 to just 16 yards, and it was just a masterclass from a overpowered offense in the 49ers, who doesn't even have Christian McCaffrey. Now, once Christian McCaffrey comes back, yes, Jordan Mason has done his thing this season. I think he's a Pro Bowler this season. I think he'll get in, but you're going to stretch out that run. I mean, Jordan Mason, CMC, you got Deebo Samuel, you got Kyle Juszczyk, fullback. You have George Kittle, who's the best tight end in the league right now. You have a defense, Nick Bosa, and then Trent Will on the line, the O line. It's an incredible packed team with a great coaching staff, and Kyle Shanahan, who's been around the game forever. His dad is one of the best offensive coaches ever. So Shanahan, fantastic coach. They're very solid. I know they're 4-4 this season, but I feel like once CMC comes back and they're completely healthy, they're gonna start clicking. They're gonna be back and look like a very familiar team that we saw last year, who completely dominated, made a Super Bowl run, but fell short to the Chiefs, who are just perfect again so far through week 8. They're 7-0, haven't lost a game yet. But yeah, in the third quarter yesterday, that's where the 49ers just took off and skyrocketed. They had 10 first downs compared to Dallas's 0 first downs. And there was multiple interceptions from Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott has thrown multiple interceptions in multiple games. And it's the first time since Troy Aikman that this has happened. It's the first time since Troy Aikman. And it kind of seals the argument of, is Dak Prescott a well-defined absolute star quarterback for the Cowboys? And that's where I say, he's below average because he's inconsistent. He's a regular season quarterback and not a playoff quarterback. And the Cowboys, man, they're America's team. America's team. What are they doing? I wouldn't be a fan of them because they haven't been fun to watch this season. They really haven't. They've struggled. And they're really going to have to figure some things out in the offseason. And like I've said about 3 to 4 times so far in this podcast, coaching staff and run game is what is hindering them from being excellent. But George Kittle in last night's game, under the spotlight, man, he thrives. He thrives under the spotlight. Personally, he's a great guy. I love George Kittle as a human being. I watched Receivers on Netflix, and just the story of him and what the type of guy he is, his character. He's a great guy. He's a fantastic tight end, the best tight end in the league right now, in my opinion. But last night he had 3 catches for 25 plus yards. So he was going ape mode, and he was balling on the turf, and really just like Donovan Wilson, their safety, the Cowboys safety. He got caught way too often in man coverage and folded. He couldn't do anything. George Kittle was just going to town and really solidifying himself as as a fantastic, reliable, valuable tight end, and the person he is. We've known this for years. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. Could be more than that. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, an All Pro tight end. He's excellent. He is excellent, and I love his game. And they play the Falcons on Sunday, so that's going to be an interesting game to watch. After Falcons came off a fantastic win against a division rival in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's see what the Cowboys can do. But moving on to the 49ers box score, Brock Purdy, 18 for 26, 260 yards, 1 touchdown, and also on the ground did very well. 8 carries for 56 yards and 1 touchdown. And then Isaac Guerendo, their third string running back. There's something about the 49ers that it's crazy to me. It's like the Packers. Packers are really good when it comes to developing quarterbacks. The Bears are good when it comes to developing a defense. The 49ers are good when it comes to developing and getting running backs. You have Jordan Mason. You picked up Christian McCaffrey, who was a lifesaver of a pickup. And then Isaac Guerendo. Man, who is this guy? 14 carries, 85 yards, and 1 touchdown last night. Very valuable. Did very well against the Cowboys defense. And then, like I said, George Kittle, man, under the spotlight, thrives. 6 receptions, 128 yards, 1 touchdown. And could I think any different? He's balling, man. George Kittle. I love that guy. But 49ers are headed into a bye. And like I said, I don't think I said this yet, but they play the Buccaneers on November 10th after the bye. But hopefully CMC comes back, Christian McCaffrey. He's coming off an Achilles tendonitis injury. And then Dre Greenlaw should be coming back. So he should be a big help. So with CMC coming back, it's going to increase that run, stretch it out a little bit. And we've seen what CMC can do. We saw him in Carolina. We saw what he did last year being the leading rusher. It was very controversial that he should have won MVP, but he's that type of player. He's valuable. He was probably the most valuable player. He was the most valuable player on the 49ers last year, and he's going to do it again. He's going to help them. And we're only in week 8, so we have 9 more weeks so far. So far. And Christian McCaffrey's just going to do his thing. Hopefully he stays healthy, because when he does, it's so fun to watch him play. He's big. He's a white Derrick Henry. He's a white version of Derrick Henry, and it's awesome to see. But that's it for last night's coverage. I want to start talking about tonight's game, a little preview. We have the Giants for Steelers, and I feel like the Steelers have gone prime time in the last 3 weeks. It's something about them. It's something about them, and I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. Last week, man, Russell Wilson had a great debut. And then they were a great team in general. You got Mike Tomlin, George Pickens, who I hope does well in fantasy because I need him to get points, man. I'm down by like 11, so I need him to clutch up. I think he's going to have a fantastic game after what we saw Russell Wilson did last week. I think he will have a good game. But, yeah, I want to hit on TJ Watt. Because one thing about TJ Watt is, he's number 1 for Defensive Player of the Year. He doesn't have the best stats, but he's been a monster on coverage, on blitzing, on pressure. Here's a crazy stat. In his whole career, he's had 101 sacks on 111 games starting. That's 10 games without a sack. And it's not necessarily 10 games. I'm just putting it in a ratio, but it's basically 10 games. I mean, he's had multiple sacks in multiple games, but that's 10 games rationally that he hasn't had a sack in his whole career. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. But on the other side, on the Giants side, another defensive player of the year type of guy who's had a fantastic season, leading the league in sacks with 9, and that's Dexter Lawrence. He has 9 sacks, but one thing that has been happening to him the last couple of weeks is double teaming him. And don't be surprised if you see that in this game. I won't be surprised at all because he's going to be a monster like he has been this whole season. He's going to be a threat, definitely. It's the same with TJ Watt. But him and TJ Watt are battling for that defensive player of the year. Right now, I think it should be Dexter Lawrence just because of the stats, but TJ Watt has delivered more pressure. He's probably the best pass rusher in the league today. But man, those two are headbutting. It's going to be a good defensive game, in my opinion. But one thing for the Steelers, one pro, is that it's hard to win at home against the Steelers. It's hard to win in their stadium. It really is. Good coaching staff, good environment, fans, noise. You have a great quarterback. You have good wide receivers, good running back in Najee Harris. So it's a great established team. And it's going to be difficult. And it's the Giants. Like, come on. It's the Giants. So I think Steelers take this in the bag. I don't think there's much problems. The only problems I have is the Giants defense. That's really what carries them this season. They're going to move on from Daniel Jones. I can promise you that. He is not staying. I don't know why they gave him the money he did. He does not deserve it. Saquon Barkley was the reason they were ever successful. But now you have Malik Neighbors. You're going to want to get somebody that can fit well with Malik Neighbors. If that's Cam Ward, if that's Quinn Ewers, if that's Shedeur Sanders, whoever it is, you're going to want to get someone that can fit well with somebody Malik Neighbors because that's going to be your Saquon for the next few years. That's going to be your Saquon. That's going to be the guy who carries y'all. So getting a good quarterback can really equal that out and balance it for them to be able to compete potentially in the division that they're in now, which is very, very competitive now that Washington is dominating. But Giants D this season, even though they have Dexter Lawrence and it's pretty much what helps them potentially win, they're 25th in run D. So Najee Harris is going to potentially just run all over that rush defense, who's 25th in the league, and they allow 138.1 rushing yards per game. And a lot of that comes from Justin Fields doing his thing, scrambling, his athleticism, and not much from Russell Wilson. He's on the older end. He's not as mobile as Justin Fields. But Najee Harris, yes, that's your guy that you're going to focus on when it comes to running. Justin Fields was a big help. They went 4-2, but we'll see what Russell Wilson can do. And the Steelers right now are 9th in rushing yards as a team in whole. So we'll see what the Steelers can do. I think Steelers have this one in the bag. It seems pretty straightforward for me. But that is the end of the podcast. I hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure you follow all my socials, Off the Ball with Clay Tillman. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope y'all enjoyed. Continue to share the podcast. I love y'all's support. I'll see you next time, potentially Wednesday, on the Off the Ball podcast. Have a good day.